And another episode of UnSKripted. I'm Dr. Chris Featherstone for another wonderful Tuesday night, and it can't get no more wonderful than this one. We fried on Tuesday night, ladies and gentlemen, with my guy, former WWE Champion. I'm going to ask him this question about the Hall of Fame. Let's jump him on. JBL, how are you tonight, sir?
You forgot we fried on Tuesday night, Michael. Everybody always
Michael.
Everybody always give you hell about saying Michael.
We fried on Tuesday night, Michael.
Most people spelled it on the internet. I guess that's right. I'm from Texas. I barely speak English.
How are you tonight, man?
I'm doing great, Chris. Good talking to you.
Fantastic. So before we get into anything, so you were inducted in the Hall of Fame technically in 2020. What in the world is that status? Are you a class of 2020?
I don't think anybody knows, unless they had a Hall of Fame back in the Spanish flu of 1918. Nobody knows what's going on right now. I go in the Hall of Fame and the whole world shuts down. I think it's kind of ironic. So I don't know the answer. They've been calling me Hall of Fame elect. They've been calling me Hall of Fame. I have no idea.
Hall of Fame elect.
Go in. It's a great class. I'm honored beyond belief to be in it.
Yes.
I'm not in it. I don't know what I am, but whatever I am, I'm honored.
Yeah, Hall of Fame elect. I think that's quite fair. Good stuff. All right, man. You ready to jump into these? Actually, before we jump to these questions, man, you got something going on with Gerald Briscoe. Let the listeners know about that.
Yeah, thank you for letting me plug that. I'm having a lot of fun. Gerald Briscoe hired me back in December of 1995, and we've been really close friends ever since. And we always talk, we always text. We said, hey, let's do something on whatever, the internet. I don't know what it is yet, but it's on my Facebook page, on my YouTube page. It's all the public stuff you can find. We're just doing stories. Last week we covered some pretty cool drinking stories and the shoot with the Sheik in Tampa, which I'd never heard the backstage story before. And last week we covered in Kuwait when Vader got arrested, the special forces offered to sneak Vader out of the country. And I'd never heard that. It was pretty cool stuff with Gerald Briscoe.
Yeah, Briscoe's got a bunch of stuff. I've actually spoken with him in the past couple of weeks a few times, man. So, yeah.
He looks like Hugh Jackman's grandfather now. He looks like the Wolverines, the original Wolverine, those big mutton chops on.
Yeah, we're Facebook friends, and I've seen some the latest images of him, man. And he's one of them. He's like, you know what? I'm going to show you my battle wounds, man, and I'm just going to let it all go. So
he's the best. He's a first class dude. He's a great guy. I love talking with him. We have so much fun just talking. I don't know if anybody cares about listening, but we have a lot of fun talking to each other.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's a lot of people love road stories. I mean, that's a lot of fans like road stories. I've been podcasting for 8.5 years now, and some of my best feedback are just wrestlers telling about road stories, and I think that's a pretty interesting niche. So, best wishes to y'all, man. Good stuff.
Well,
All right, let's jump into these questions here. Smitty is asking, "What's your favorite APA moment?"
The day they told me I got the tag with Ron Simmons, Ron and I were best friends, and Ron, I look up to Ron, I idolize Ron. He's also was best man in my wedding. He's just as good as there is on this planet. And when I got the chance to tag with him, that was probably one of the highlights of my career. It was the highlight of my career.
Nice. Ablas is asking, "Hello, sir. Did you really goad Brock Lesnar to tackling Big Show at a house show? Any other Lesnar stories that we've never heard of?"
No, I didn't. I heard that story. I was there. It was in Nashville. It was backstage in the Municipal Coliseum. It wasn't in the nice arena. And he tackled Big Show. They were just kind of fooling around. But no, I didn't goad him into it. That was I've goaded a lot of things. I'm responsible for a lot of stuff, but I'm not responsible for that. That's not true.
Yeah. Second part is any other Lesnar stories that we've never heard of.
Yeah, but I probably can't tell them. You told me it was PG on the show, so I probably can't tell me. We've had a lot of fun. He really looked up to Kurt Hennig and really respected Kurt Hennig. Kurt Hennig helped break him in. He rode with Kurt, and I was good friends with Kurt. So because of that, I've traveled a lot with Brock, or met him and Kurt out to have some drinks at times, and had a lot of great times with Brock.
Mm-hmm. Now I know that's the peak of your heel run was what, 04 or 05?
I believe that's right. Yeah, 04, I think. I think that's right.
And so Lesnar was pretty established in that time. Was there any type of
one of the reasons I got the heel run was because of Brock.
Okay.
I had a tore bicep. I'd had a hernia surgery, and I really thought my career was over. Ron was getting ready to retire and was pretty much out of the ring, probably for good. Make a few special appearances after, every once in a while, kind of like you do at that phase of your career.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought my career was over. And Brock left and went to do other things. Went to NFL first and the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Big Show was hurt. Kurt Angle was hurt. That's why I got the opportunity to face Eddie at the Staples Center in that match that was so bloody. But it was a lot of it had to do with because of opportunity, because Brock wasn't there.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I owe Brock and Big Show and Kurt for not being there and giving me an opportunity.
Yeah. Right place, right time, man. Good stuff. Philip's asking, what was your favorite WrestleMania moment?
No doubt about it. Going out against Cena, I think it's WrestleMania 21 out in the Staples Center. That was such a thrill, man, to go out in the main event of WrestleMania as the champion and walk out. I'm such a huge wrestling fan and remember all the WrestleManias growing up as a kid, from WrestleMania 1, 2, 3. I remember the build up to the big body slam of the Giant by Hulk Hogan. And so getting to be in WrestleMania, then also getting to walk out as champion, that was – I don't know if I'll ever have a moment that'll be any more cool than that.
Nice. Now, I've interviewed over 200 wrestlers. Different people say different things about Cena. How was the atmosphere around that time? Cena was still in his infancy in a sense. Was there any type of heat, so to speak, as far as Cena getting that type of push at that time?
Absolutely not. None whatsoever that I knew of. And I think I would have heard it. I was one of the first to take Cena. It's easy to go 8 minutes in a match. You go out there, it's basic formula of a match. Mm-hmm. It's hard to go your first 30 to 35 minute match. And I was the first one to go with John Cena on the road. I think Kurt Angle right at the time was doing it as well with Cena. Mm-hmm. But first to go with Cena for, say, 30 minutes on the house shows. And that's when you really feel if a guy knows what he's doing. And mm-hmm. I remember coming back and talking to Vince, and Vince said, "How is he?" And I said, "The kid is awesome." Nice. He said, "Really?" And he wasn't surprised because he didn't expect him to be good. He was just surprised about how effusive my praise was of him. And I said, "He has an incredible feel." I said, "He has a knack for this business. I think he's your guy." And now when I say that, I don't want to take credit for Cena's career. I was just happened to be the guy that was there that handed the title to him. And he would have had that happen eventually anyway. But no, to me, there was no heat whatsoever. And when I was asked by the office, I gave him a ringing endorsement. I knew he was the guy. I had no doubt in my mind that he was the guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Elvis is asking, hello, the one and only wrestling god. I always love what you did in the ring. You were my auntie's favorite wrestler. She passed away in 2012. Sorry to hear that. What was Eddie like backstage?
Eddie was awesome. He was an awesome human being. I got the privilege of doing part of his eulogy, and which unfortunately was a privilege. I wish he was still around. He was a groomsman at my wedding also. Eddie was a good friend of mine and just the salt of the earth. Eddie was such a good dude. I mean, you wouldn't believe what a good man Eddie Guerrero was. He would go to people. He could sense somehow when things were going wrong. I had some things wrong in my life at one point, and Eddie came up to me. Nobody sensed it. Nobody knew it. I thought I kept it hidden. He goes, "Hey, man, I know something's wrong." And he sat there and talked to me for a while. Just that's what Eddie does, and he did that with everybody. He was quick with a joke, loved to laugh. Eddie was a terrific human being.
Now, was it sudden as far as just his passing, just around the atmosphere backstage? How was that atmosphere when the backstage found out of his passing?
Yeah, we were in Minnesota, and I remember walking in. I saw Rey Mysterio crying over by where we had makeup. When you walk in, sometimes they had the makeup area where you walk in by, and I knew something was bad wrong. Never dreamed it was Eddie. Just happened. He was clean, he was sober, and his heart just gave out on him for some reason that day.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Let's see, my camera. All right, here we go. Let's see. Riju's asking, hey JBL, an absolute honor to have you on. How was it being a part of the recent segment with Otis? Blue Collar Solid.
I love Otis. I think Otis's character is great. I love doing commentary about Otis, because I love bashing the character, and trying to put him over as a heel.
Yep.
But it was a lot of fun. Those guys have a lot of talent, and being the judge there in the wrestler's court, that's the taker's seat. I knew I was kind of sitting in somebody's chair I probably shouldn't be sitting in, but it was a lot of fun. It was great to be back. I like going back now. When I go back, I sit in the TV locker room. I usually sit there with Booker T, and a lot of times Samoa Joe's there and some of the announcers, and we just sit and talk. Corey Graves is always there. We just sit and talk and have a good time. It's really fun to go back now.
Yeah, speaking of Joe, what are your thoughts? I personally think he's doing absolutely fantastic. It's just really kind of like it's a gold mine. It's just that we just didn't even know about. What's your thoughts on Joe's transition over to color commentary?
I think he's terrific. I think I don't know if he's going to go back in the ring or not. I don't know if his injuries. I guess that's what it is why he's at commentary, exclusively. But I think Joe's great. He's got great knowledge for the business, and you can only learn certain things by being there. And Joe's been there and enough that he does a great job, in my opinion.
Yep, absolutely. Guillermo's asking Bradshaw, what is your opinion on the Brawl for All? And do you realize that you were the only one that had it successful? After that, the Brawl was created as a punishment for you.
That's Vince Russo's story. I don't think many people buy that. It certainly don't. And if it was, I want to thank him. I when I was first starting wrestling, the first thing everybody said was buy a house. And you can always pump gas if you own a house. And the Brawl for All winnings, because I won 3 matches and got to face Bart in the final, paid for my first house. And
nice.
And I lived in that house for about 20-something years. That Brawl for All was, I think of it very kindly because it got me into a home for the first time in my life. I thought it was a terrible idea, and I said so at the time. Bruce Pritchard called me on a Thursday and said, you want to be in a shoot fight on Monday? And I said, why would I be in a shoot fight on Monday? He said, we're doing this shoot fight contest. And I said, Bruce, this is a bad idea. I said, you think that Dr. Death is going to win this thing. I said, this isn't the Dr. Death of 10 years ago. He's had a lot of injuries. I said, you're going to have someone like Bob Holly win this, because the heavyweight champs are generally not 6'6", 300 pounds. There's a few exceptions now with Tyson Fury, but for the most part, I figured somebody like Bob Holly would win it, or Blackman. And then I found out that Shamrock and Severn were in it, and I said, nobody has a chance in this thing. I thought it was a terrible idea. It was a lot of fun. I'd never done anything like it. It was fun training. The fights were fun. I really had a good time doing something different. I'm a huge boxing fan. And one thing I really regret was the final was supposed to be in Madison Square Garden. And I don't know what happened, but they moved it to Philadelphia. I wanted to have a boxing match in Madison Square Garden. I don't care what the outcome was. The outcome ended up very badly for me against Bart, but I don't care. I would have loved for it to have been in Madison Square Garden.
Nice. Do you think the Dark Side episode was an accurate representation of it?
I'm not going to get into a fight with Vince Russo over the internet.
Oh, well, I'm talking about the Dark Side of the Ring episode.
And as far as what was,
you think it was an accurate representation of what happened based on your experience of the Brawl for All?
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean exactly? You mean how many people got hurt and that people thought resoundingly that was a bad idea? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The Dark Side of the Ring episode. Did you watch that?
I did, yes.
Yeah, I was just your thoughts on the episode as far as the
I think they do a
representation.
great job on their stuff. There's some things that obviously that are wrong, but when you do a documentary, you're going to get the truth from people in their own mind. So
Sure.
people telling the truth, that's the different truth. Even though I saw the same things, you have two people report on the exact same thing. Sometimes you have different stories, and the truth, they're both telling the truth. It's just the truth to their own perspective.
Correct.
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Godfather. I love Bart Gunn. I mean, Godfather is one of my good friends, and I thought I was going to end up in the finals against Godfather. Nobody knew Bart could hit.
Yeah, that was unexpected, but I'm glad that he had his moment at that time, sir. Hey JBL, so great to have you here. Your thoughts on Roman Reigns' heels turn? Who do you think see taking the title off Roman Reigns in the end?
I hope nobody. I think it's one of the best. I watched them the other day, and I thought it was one of the best things WWE has done in I don't know how many years. I think the head of the table with Uso there, it's just, man, that's just gold to me. I loved every second of it. I sent a text, I think it was to a friend of mine there, and WWE said, man, you guys hit a home run with this one. Roman is really talented, and this fits him perfectly. I hope they don't take it off of him for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. I personally think that the Roman J storyline is the best thing going in all the professional wrestling right now. It'll be really difficult to argue.
I'll tell you an interesting story about the Usos. I love both those guys. I love their dad. When I saw them first coming in, we would call the pre-show. They call it the kickoff now. Before, and nobody knew the Usos. They go out there and have to put in 25 minutes, which is torture. When people are coming in for the event, they're not really expecting a match at that point. They're looking forward to the main matches later. Nobody knew the Usos then, and they would go out there every night in a match that had no storyline, no nothing, and they would have the crowd on their feet by the end of 20 minutes. And I would tell everybody, man, these kids are just awesome. And I don't mean disrespect by kids. I'm 54 this month, so they're kids to me. They're grown men, and they do a wonderful job. I knew how talented they were.
Yeah. Also, is it true that Vince is always in your ears when you're calling matches?
I never had a problem with it because he owns the company, or at least the majority of it. And so when he was in my ear telling me, I knew exactly the direction I needed to go. But no, there were times I wouldn't hear anything for 2 hours, and there were times I would when there were certain direction. I never had an issue with that, not one. I know Mick Foley did. I know some other guys have. I never had an issue with it. I liked the direction because I liked knowing where the boss wanted the storyline to go, and to me, it was very helpful. And he talks in very short, succinct sentences. So he's very good at producing people, which is something a lot of people don't talk about. And it's great when he would be able to just give you a little snippet and you know which direction to go.
Yeah. It's Ronda Rousey winning the Royal Rumble in 2021.
She's about the hottest thing, or she was about 6 months ago with all that attention she got on herself. I don't know if she did that on purpose or not, where she called fake wrestling, but she sure got a lot of heat off of it. I mean, if she didn't, she hit a gold mine. If she did, she's really smart, and she may be. I don't know her. I don't know either way. People say good things about her in the WWE that I've talked to.
Yeah, nice. Happy birthday to Noe. Your birthday shout out. Thank you for joining us on your birthday. Shuban is asking, hello, Mr. Layfield. You and Ron Simmons were associated with the Undertaker and the Acolytes Protection Agency. How did the team end up with Taker come through, and what advice did he give you guys?
I don't know. I don't know how to end up with Taker. He was putting a cabinet together, essentially. At some point, every one of your top heels, your top baby faces end up doing that, putting a stable around them to give them a little more longevity as far as the career and the storyline arc. And Ron and I were two of the guys that he had. He brought the Brood in later. He had Viscera in. So there were a lot of guys that were in there. And it was a great time. I loved being out there with the Undertaker. They weren't doing a lot with me and Ron. And so it just seemed a perfect fit for us to go into the ministry.
Yep. But I was asking, hey JBL, any plans for a return? Maybe as a surprise entrance at the Rumble. Who's the one guy on the current roster who you would like to wrestle in your prime?
I would love a return. I tell you, I love the business. I loved every second of it. I retired when I had to, not because I wanted to, because of injuries. And so if I could do it, I would love to. I don't know physically if I could or not. years since I've been in the ring. But I think it's been about 10 or 11 years. So I'm not sure a return is feasible, but would I love one? My God, absolutely. Yeah. That would be. And I've got a storyline for it too, by the way. I've got a wonderful storyline. Just
okay.
I don't know if I physically can do it.
Okay, are you going to share that here or with Briscoe? Are you teasing us?
I'm not teasing it. I'm not sharing it with anybody. I've shared it with one person.
Okay,
actually 2 people, and that's about it. The odds are I would bet overwhelmingly it never happens because I don't think physically I can do it. But I would love to. When you're an old wrestler, you always sit around and think, hey, what would I do if I could go back now? And so you're sitting around, you come up with these crazy ideas. That's what that is inside my head, coming up with this crazy storyline. Andre the Giant had a storyline for Undertaker when Andre the Giant couldn't even get to the ring. Taker used to tell me, I've got a storyline for you. And Taker never found out what it was. Andre passed away and his health got bad. So every old wrestler has a storyline. Of course, I've got one too.
There you go.
Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Who's the one guy on the current roster you would like to wrestle in your prime?
Probably Randy Orton, just because he's so freaking good. I tagged with his dad. I mean, that tells you he was as good as Randy, man. His father, good Lord, man. Bob Orton Jr. was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Those are the same punch as Randy. I remember being in Japan with Bob, and he said, I've got this kid. He's really good. I think he's going to be something. Randy was like 12 at the time or something like that. Yeah. I think Randy – I've wrestled Randy. I wrestled Randy a few times in some big matches, actually. But I think storyline with Randy Orton, he's so good.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me add another wrench in this. Who would you manage on the current roster right now?
That's a great question. I would love to have – I love what MVP's doing. I love what MVP's doing. That group to me, man. I told I think I sent them a text. If not, I told them in person. It reminded me of Butch and Ron, and not just the race, but the intimidation. Butch and Ron, when they scared people, and they should have.
Yeah.
that freaking Bobby and Sheldon. I mean, those guys look like $1 million, and MVP does a great job. I don't know. I would like somebody that could talk, somebody that could work. I love Baron Corbin. I think Baron Corbin is really. I think the world of Baron.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Victor,
I'm 6'6", and so you don't like to have managers like the old Colonel Parker. You don't like to have a manager that's taller than the wrestler because it's all about perception. You want a manager that's 5'6", so it would hurt. I'd have to have a tall guy like Baron to manage because otherwise it looks dumb me standing over somebody.
That's true. Victor's asking, did you ever had a chance to perform with either of the Road Warriors?
We wrestled the Road Warriors in a Chicago street fight in Chicago. You betcha. I liked Hawk and Animal. Had a great time. In fact, you're in Ohio right now. Animal asked me one time, he said, you want to go and watch his kid play, James Laurinaitis, who's a 3-time All-American there at Ohio State, and they were playing Texas. And I said, Animal, I'm not going to go listen to 100,000 fans chant Texas sucks for 3 hours. I said, it's going to drive me nuts. Got from Texas. I got along great with Hawk and with Animal. Wrestled him a bunch of times.
Yeah. He's I became close friends with Joe over the past few months. We actually had a show together on Monday nights right after Raw. So it was great to have that moment with him and share that time with him. It was great. And of
when
course,
people talk about the greatest tag team of all time, they're talking about who's second. They're not. Nobody argues whether the Road Warriors are the best. Everybody, the Dudleys, the Edge and Christian, the Hardys, they'll all tell you that those guys were the best of all time. People argue about who's going to be second, but not who's first. Yeah,
absolutely. Wally's asking, what was your most memorable prank you pulled on a fellow wrestler?
Oh man, we had so many. Back in the day, we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have the internet. So guys just traveled each other. We had nothing to do. We had we had pay phones we'd have to go and call the family from. So we had all this extra time on our hands. And so ribs were all the time. They were 24/7. We had some great ribs, some terrific ribs. I'm not sure I can repeat any of them. They were all fun, and they were all in good spirit. None of them were mean. I never got into stuff messing people's clothes and stuff.
Now, let me ask you this: as far as Rivers, of course, Hennick is typically up there as far as the most well known Ribber. Owen Hart as well. Who else can you think of as pull some good ribs back in the day?
Owen Hart used to drive Brett crazy. Owen would go out there and he didn't care if it was a match in WrestleMania or if it was a match in some little sea town somewhere where nobody's at. If Owen felt like screwing around, he screwed around. Owen's one of the funniest guys I've ever been around in my life. I tagged with Owen and Davey on some loop. They were going against the Godwins and Bart Gunn. And I think Clarence Mason, was their manager at the time. Either the Godwins or I think it was. And Owen was insane, absolutely insane. Davey would call a spot in the ring, and Owen would turn and yell it out to the crowd. He's going to do a headlock, tackle, drop down, hip toss, and then Davey would do it. And Owen goes, "See, I told you." And Davey would just laugh. Davey thought he was funny.
Oh, that's good.
Davey incessantly. Davey would stay sometimes because he was scared of Owen. This is not scared of Owen. I'm scared of what Owen would do.
Yeah.
Owen would rib himself to rib you. Owen was the absolute best. So was Henning. I loved Kurt Henning. Kurt Henning was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Lawrence, will you be at Survivor Series for Undertaker's farewell? Any fond backstage story or memory with the dead man?
I'm not sure if anything's been announced whether I'll be there, so I'll leave the first part of that question alone. But the second part, there's a lot of great stories about the Undertaker. He told me one time that he came in, he'd had a few drinks the night before, and he never sold. He'd never sold anything. He's legendary for never selling anything. So he wanted to take a nap, but he wasn't about to do it in the dressing room. Back before these guys had buses, he didn't want to go out to his car. Somebody would see him. So he crawls into one of his own coffins and takes a nap. And he says when he wakes up and he opens up the coffin lid, because it's not built for air. It's pretty hot there, apparently. Yeah. I've been in a couple, usually stacked on top of Orlando Jordan, which is certainly built for two people. Right. He opened up the casket, and there were people all around the caskets just standing there. They'd come up since he had gotten in there. And so he sat up, got out, and walked out and just kept going. They're like, oh, my God, it's legit. He really is dead.
Yeah. Alan's asking, you had a long reign as WWE champion. Was there any point where they wanted to pull the plug on your run as champ? If yes, who stepped in to overturn the decision?
If they did, I didn't know. If they did, I don't know. I mean, there was some doubt at the end of whether Cena was the guy or not. I know there was some debate between some of the agents because they talked to me about it. And as there is any time, a champion holds a title a long time, and you've got somebody new that at that time was unproven. That was the only debate I ever was aware of about it. If they wanted to take the title off of me, I didn't know about it. I think a lot of fans wanted that to happen, but I'm not sure the office did.
You had the title for nearly a year. I mean, that is really unprecedented. Nowadays, as far as year-long title reigns, I know AJ had one recently, a few years back, but that's really unprecedented nowadays. How was it? Did they kind of have things mapped out for you, or did they just kind of give you something every month or two as far as just your storylines are concerned?
I'm not sure how it got mapped out. I know at some point they mapped things backward from WrestleMania. So I don't know at what point I think, Vince wanted Cena to be the guy at WrestleMania. I don't know at what point that happened because obviously, somewhere in there around November, December, what you want your WrestleMania match to be and you work backwards. And I don't know when that started happening as far as that mapping out. I think it was just a feeling out process. I know the first match with Eddie was total. If it went poorly, it was a one-off and you'd never heard of me again. Fortunately, because of Eddie, it worked well. And then when I got the title, I think they had a few ideas of where I could go the next few months, but I don't know if it was scheduled for the next 6 months. And I don't know when it became apparent that Cena was the guy and he was going to be the one at WrestleMania.
Yeah. All right, guys. I know there's a bunch. We got a time just for a couple more. Let's see. Let's find. There's a lot. Let's see. Trying to find a couple of good ones here. There's quite a bit. All right, here we go. Soon to be Hall of Famer yourself. He is a Hall of Famer. I'll call him a Hall of Fame elect. Which current WWE superstar do you think could headline WWE Hall of Fame in the future?
I think there's a bunch. I mean, Randy Orton obviously could. and will. Roman Reigns. I think you've got a lot of guys. Rey Mysterio. I think you got a lot of guys that are there that, over the course of time could headline a Hall of Fame class. Will certainly be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. What are your thoughts on Chris Jericho's AEW run?
I think I love Chris. I know he just turned 50. I remember back in the early 90s, I saw him. I was working for Genriki Tenryu, and he was doing the light heavy tournament there, which was a really big, prestigious deal at the time. And I just remember watching him thinking, oh, my God, if he can stay healthy, what a career he's going to have. They were doing some incredible stuff. Yeah. And he's had a career just like you thought he would. I don't know why I say I thought he would. I thought he would go and be the first unified champion, all the stuff he's done. But I knew he'd be something special, and he has been.
Mm-hmm. All right, last question, guys. Your favorite moment of Kurt Angle?
The fight with Eddie Guerrero. It was when Kurt and Eddie got into a fight. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. They came back from a match and they got into a fight at the gorilla position. A lot of people told the story, but I was sitting by Eddie in the dressing room. It was just me and Eddie, and so I knew there was a fight, but you could always tell that noise. You know there's a fight going on, and for something happened in the ring, they get into a fight at Gorilla. They fight all the way back to the dressing room. They separate them. John Laurinaitis was head of talent relations. He closes the door, and Eddie's sitting beside me, and Eddie's just sitting there. And I realized that there's been a fight, and then Eddie tried to leg dive him at the Gorilla. And so Eddie's a tough guy, but there's 8 billion people on the planet. Kurt Angle was the best out of all of them. He wasn't good. He was great. And so the one thing you can't do with Kurt Angle is leg dive him. Punch him, hit him with a bat, but don't leg dive him. He's the best wrestler in the world. So I'm sitting there looking at Eddie, and he's just steaming. I said, why would you leg dive a gold medalist? And he doesn't even look at me. He goes, because I'm stupid. I laughed, but he didn't. He laughed later.
That's Eddie for you.
Yeah.
Well, John, it's been a pleasure, man. Let the listeners know what you got going on, man. Anything else you need to plug?
Hey, thank you very much. I got some charity work going on that I hope to bring out. And, people have been very generous raising money. I do a lot with at-risk, low-income kids in different areas. In Memphis, there's a great group, Memphis Inner City Rugby, run by Shane Young. He's a good friend of mine. I'm on the board there. We're doing our best to help the youth in that area that are falling through the cracks because of COVID. They don't have access to computers and Wi-Fi and things like that. And we've had a lot of generous people that have really helped us. So I want to thank everybody for doing that. And I also want to tell everybody, there's a lot of inequities in our system right now. And I'm not talking just about, the things that everybody talks about. Right now, there's a lot of kids out there that aren't able to go to school. And because they're in low-income areas, they don't have access to computers and Wi-Fi. If you get a chance to help those kids, please do, because we don't want to lose an entire generation, something that's not their fault.
Absolutely. And you're at
my Facebook page with the Wolverine original, Gerald Briscoe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're at your Twitter and IG. It's at JC.
Twitter is JC Layfield, I believe. IG is John Bradshaw Layfield, and the Facebook is John Layfield, as long as the YouTube is John Layfield as well.
Perfect. John, it's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks, Chris. Great talking to you.